My name's Stephanie. I'm a compulsive eater. I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the gray sheet. I write those meals down. I commit them to my sponsor before I eat them. I don't eat in between, no matter what. Abstinence is the most important thing I do every day. My abstinence date is April 12th, 2001. And for that, I'm truly grateful. And I'm 5'4", and I last month on the first month, this month, the first month, I weighed 106 pounds, which is more than I weighed in third grade. I mean, less than I weighed in third grade. I weighed more in third grade, which surprises me. But what happened is, I remember that's when this girl in class told me I had thunder thighs, and it was a big turning point. And my mother took me to get school clothes, and the people at the department store said, "You've got to go to another department. We don't have clothes that big for children." And so we had to go to like the Mrs. section, and all the pants and skirts were really long. So I'd either like pull up the skirt or roll up my pants because my mom didn't sew. So, and she was pretty mad too, I think, because the clothes were more expensive. But that's when I realized that I really struggled with the weight. Before that, I just really thought I enjoyed food, and I didn't have any siblings. And so I was always, my mother would say, I'm eating more than my fair share. You know, I really wanted to eat more than a serving at whatever restaurant we were at, especially a cafeteria. And the biggest problem I got into is if we visited my dad's side of the family. They, I think I took after them. We were shorter. My mom was tall and thin and was not a compulsive eater, but a lot of us on the other side were short, and a lot of diabetes. My uncle had both his legs amputated. So I really thought it was genetics. That I was mad that I took that from my dad's side. I really thought that's what it was, and that I would always have a problem with that. So I was really jealous of girls that were taller and didn't have that issue. But I remember growing up, my dad and I would sneak off to eat, and that was our little secret, you know, like a reward. And it got to the point where they would like pay me to lose weight. You know, they wanted to reward me any way they could to try to help me. I remember my mother looking at the back of a magazine at these fat farms, but they were too expensive. Sometimes I went to summer camp because she was hoping that would help. Otherwise, I was a latchkey kid, and most summers I would just have to stay indoors. And I remember waking up and thinking, all I want to do is eat all day and watch soap operas. I mean, it was really boring. So I didn't know what to do. And they'd have like babysitters try to like exercise with me. That sounds really silly, but and I remember they both worked. So I went to daycare, even older than most children. So it was really embarrassing. Like these buses would drive up to elementary school with, one was Happy Land and the other was Tiny Tots. And it said that on the side of the bus. So it was really embarrassing. And I remember fighting other people at daycare for more snacks because there just wasn't enough. And I was pretty much a bully trying to get my fix. But anyway, I remember seeing an after school special when I was, I think, 12 or 13 on bulimia. And I was like, that's the solution. I really thought that would be the end of my problem. And I learned how to purge, and I started doing that. And it was really, really bad after that. It kept the weight off, but I wasn't underweight. I really fought that for years. But I tried to use that as a solution to where I ended up in a mental hospital, and I dropped out of high school and was living with drug addicts that were a lot more into that than I was. For me, it was always the groceries and the wine. And I would smoke pot to kind of justify that I had the munchies, so I wouldn't feel embarrassed eating a lot. And so it was just really gross because people knew I was purging, and they were like, that's disgusting. You know, it was just really gross. It was humiliating and embarrassing because, lack of hygiene and stuff like that. You know, there'd be stuff in my hair and on my clothes, and it was just really bad. I got clean when I was 18, and I was at a noon meeting, an NA meeting, And a lady there was eating 3 large, colorful vegetables in a Tupperware. And I was like, what are you doing? You know, I was pretty obnoxious, and I would always be trolling for a new diet or a new way to circumvent this problem with eating, you know, trying to find that calorie counter or some trick to it other than, you know, portion control or something. And she said, I'll talk to you about it after the meeting. And she took me to my first gray sheet meeting. And I saw the gray sheet and I was like, I did not even know how to cook vegetables. So I got a sponsor and mostly everything was canned and put in a microwave, just the basics stuff, because I didn't take the time to learn how to cook or to invest in the time that it would take to make, you know, more exciting meals. So I was really doing the low frills thing and wasn't putting all the time and energy into it that I could have. But I lost weight very quickly, and the most I ever got was 62 days. And that was in and out for the next 12 years. That was the most I ever got. And I wasn't trying all the time. I would go years, you know, without thinking about it and trying to do something else and purging a lot. But it got to where I was just too old to do that. It was, you know, really harmful to my system. And I was 31 years old at this point. I was married. I married a chef. He's a self-admitted compulsive eater. We had our separate nightstands with our binge foods, but I was still lying to him and spending a lot more money on food than I was willing to admit. I'd go to a restaurant on my lunch hour and then, you know, not even mention that I did that. And we'd go to the same restaurant at night, or, you know, like it was no big deal. I'd work clothes at work that had pockets so I could try to hide food. And, you know, there's people with their cubicles with the foods. I'd try to sneak in there and get too much. And it was just, you know, there'd be parties at work and I was mad if I didn't get the, you know, biggest, and, you know, just also, you know, I was really rude and abusive to customer service people. Like if I thought the waitress, you know, should fix me. I really wanted her to fix my feelings. And if the meal was disappointing, I would take it out on them. You know, and I think I had a sense of entitlement. Like I thought if I made good grades and didn't get arrested or get in trouble, that I should be able to eat whatever I wanted to, and that should be an acceptable vice. And I really didn't realize how much I was harming myself and depriving myself of, you know, real relationships with people. I just wasn't present for anybody, and used people. I used people, especially in school, whoever I could go home with, for what they had in their pantry, and or what the babysitter, the parents that I babysat for, what they had. And but by the time I was 31, I was doing a 6-step with my NA sponsor, and I kept talking about my food problems and gluttony. And she said, you know, I really don't think this is a defect of character. I think it's a first step issue. And I think you need to go somewhere to get specific help for this. I can't help you with that. And she said, why don't you go back to that place you keep talking about, where that's the only place you ever found relief. And she knew other GreySheeters that were doing that. And so I went back, and my husband and I tried over several months to get abstinent. But I was really, really mean. You know, I would make excuses like, I've got PMS, you know, go get me something to eat. I'm done with it, you know, and I would talk him into eating. And it really took really being beaten down to a state of reasonableness. I really needed to get desperate, and I needed to admit that I wasn't just powerless over my weight, but powerless over the food. That even if my weight were normal, you know, this obsession with food and the spiritual malady, you know, there was just no zest for life. You know, I was suicidal and just had no reason to live other than chasing this thing every day. So it was really an emptiness. And so I finally got abstinent April 12th, 2001. I got a sponsor. I went to meetings regularly, just tried to take this seriously. Called my sponsor, you know, from the grocery store, trying to ask for better tips on what to get. You know, my husband's a fantastic cook, but I weigh and measure all of my own meals and try to keep that separate. You know, keep my eyes on my own plate, and and work with my own sponsor and not sponsor each other and things like that. So
That's 10 minutes.
thank you. So I just wanted to wrap up with, we can all probably get abstinent for one meal, but how do we stay abstinent? And it's really important to me because I don't want to take this for granted. It's really easier for me to stay abstinent than to get abstinent. And so I don't want to minimize that, that detox was real and it was difficult, and I don't want to go through that again. And I have the luxury today of, my body like just really enjoys the food that we eat. I can taste it. I live life between meals with real relationships with people and real intimacy with women. Whenever I struggle, I think there's a lot of good speakers that we've had, like at roundups and retreats that I would listen to, like cultivating gratitude and how to plan, prepare, and protect our abstinence. And these things are so important to me because I know if I'm not, I tend to get into self-pity is what I want to do. So like if I see people that I think are happy out there eating with no consequences, I start feeling sorry for myself, and I can't afford to do that. I really have to admit that I'm not a normal eater and that this is the most optimal life that I'm living. And it's wonderful because I'm not tormented anymore by those thoughts or cravings. The cravings are gone because I totally abstain from the substances that I'm allergic to. And those substances are typically fermented into alcohol. And even before that, I abstain from those and I don't get those cravings. So I'm really grateful to be here. And I just want to stay dumb with the food is what a old timer told me. I can't afford thinking that I have this beat or that I can do it any better than a newcomer. I'm one bite away and I want to take this seriously because it's deadly. And that woman that took me to my first Grey Sheet meeting, she ended up relapsing and she regained over 100 pounds, and she died at age 50 in her sleep. And her brother at her funeral said now she can eat whatever she wants in heaven. And it was just so tragic because there were hundreds of people there. She was just a wonderful person that helped a lot of people. But that is the legacy if I don't take this seriously. And it's a privilege to do this and to see y'all here. The fact that we've decided to spend this hour together is really important to me. So thanks.